All right. Good morning, everyone, again. Today, our topic is testing grammar. So let's answer this question first. Yeah. What do grammar tests measure? So what do we test now in grammar tests? You can write in the chat box, or you can turn on your mics and say, well, what do we measure in grammar tests? Any ideas? Good grammar. English skills. Actually, grammar is sub-skill. It's not skill. And we have 4 main skills like reading, listening, reading, and writing. And grammar is a sub-skill, just like vocabulary or pronunciation. Yeah, those are sub-skills. All right, let's go on. So these are the things we usually test. Yeah, grammar tests. Inflections. Bottles, plural form, for example. Yeah, baked, past participle, or baking, for example. Syntax, which is a sentence, word order in a sentence, negative form, question form, connectives, we actually measure it a lot. Parts of speech, noun, adjective, or adverb, for example, or how to form an adverb, tenses, and etc. So these are the topics that we usually test in grammar tests. Yeah? All right. Why should we test grammar? And can one justify the separate testing of grammar? Give reasons why grammar should be measured separately and why it should not. For example, in IELTS and TOEFL, we don't have separate section like grammar, right? We have only 4 skills: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Yeah, but we don't have grammar parts. So can we justify? Can we find reasons why we should test grammar separately? Any ideas? Why should we test grammar separately?
Teacher? I think that when we pass IELTS, we test our proficiency, but when we learn English, so teachers should test grammar separately. Like, for example, we have learned something, one structure, and they test our knowledge, what we understood.
Okay. A few wrote here, it's better to test grammar separately because we can test how people can use it in practice. Yeah, Bayan for it. And Fatima, maybe in lower levels, we see if the students has applied the grammar correctly. All right, good. Yeah, pretty close, girls. Yeah, pretty close. In proficiency tests nowadays, they don't test it separately because they evaluate skills, which are big things. Yeah, skills like 4 skills, and grammar is sub-skills, so they don't test it like directly. They're more focused on skills. However, yeah, and here are the reasons why let's test on the skills. Skills are more important than sub-skills. Yeah, we believe so. And we cannot predict accurately mastery of the skill by measuring sub-skill. So because skill is more important. Yeah. For example, speaking. Some people can make a lot of mistakes in speaking, but they have quite good fluency. This is why they can get higher scores. So they still can communicate. Yeah. Or again, pronunciation. Yeah, they can. This is also soft skill. They can make a lot of mistakes in pronunciation. They might have a very difficult or heavy accent, but still people understand them. Yeah, for example. So this is why they don't evaluate soft skills that much. Actually, they do. They still have some rubrics in listening, in speaking part, like a pronunciation. They have this item actually in rubrics, but still, they're more focused on overall skill than sub-skill. And the backlash effects might be beneficial when skills are tested directly. This is why they test speaking directly. However, we still need to retain grammar section because of the ease with which large numbers of items can be administered and scored within a short period of time. So have like 25 questions of grammar and 25 questions of vocabulary, for example, and it usually shows us very accurately the proficiency level of students, especially in placement tests. In placement tests, we do have grammar parts, and they have very high content validity, by the way, because they include a good sample of all possible grammatical elements. We can ask a lot of different questions on different topics, and it shows good proficiency of students. And when we place them, before we start our English courses, 4 years ago, actually, when you were a freshman, I remember I designed a placement test. And at the time, we had PET, preliminary English test. It's like a pre-intermediate level test. And I focused on skills. There was listening part. There was writing part, if you remember. We didn't have speaking because you were too many, of course, 130. But to my surprise, to my horror, I learned that those skills tests actually didn't show a lot of difference between students. Writing was okay, but listening, a lot of students failed listening because they actually didn't do well at school. They didn't practice listening. Many of them didn't practice listening at school. This is why they did terribly in the listening part, and I couldn't see any difference. There was very little difference between good performing and badly performing students. So at that moment, I realized that actually I should have done it in an old-fashioned way. So we should have included grammar and vocabulary, vocabulary and reading part, as usual, as we do, because they were more accurate. Okay. So why should we test grammar? There is often good cause to include grammar component in the achievement, placement, and diagnostic tests. So placement test in the beginning, as I give an example, this was my mistake. In later years, we actually included grammar points. Achievement tests, progress tests. You mentioned in the beginning that we need to test what students learn to see, to diagnose their weaknesses, and strength. This is very important. Because grammatical ability, or actually the lack of grammatical ability, sets limits to what can be achieved in the way of skills performance. So if students have terrible grammar, no matter how good their fluency is, we might not understand what they want to say or what they want to write. This is why grammar is still important, and it should be tested as well separately, especially in achievement tests, placement and diagnostic tests. And knowledge of grammar of a student's grammatical ability is a very useful information again in placement tests and in diagnostic tests, so we can pay attention to, as I mentioned before, to their weaknesses. All right, sampling. Where should we select? What should we test? What should we test? Sampling. Sampling. Choosing questions. Designing tests on certain topics. So first, we should determine what structures you have been teaching until that moment. So if it is, let's say, present simple and present past simple and present perfect, then you should ask questions on these two topics. We also can include mistakes of students in their quizzes and in their homework or presentations speaking. Yeah. And you can even use students' mistakes as distractors. They are even better. It's a very good thing to use students' mistakes as distractors, because when they choose that word or that structure incorrectly, yeah, you will work on that and you'll explain as a whole class, yeah, that this is actually wrong. For example, instead of I would include, for example, I am agree. Yeah, a lot of students still say I am agree. I would include it as a distractor. Yeah, I agree and I am agree. Then I would say that I am agree is not correct. That we should say I agree. Yeah. Because agree is a verb already. It's not adjective. It's not noun. It's not numeral. Yeah. All right. Ignore the points students know well, so don't ask very easy questions. However, in the very beginning, you can ask a few very easy questions just to encourage your learners that the test isn't that difficult and that they still can do something in that test. Yeah. Don't ask only difficult questions. There should be a certain number of easy, average, and difficult questions. Weight, yeah, weight is also important. So we should give different weight to various grammar points. For example, yeah, the second passage is an example. If you spend 3 times longer on modal auxiliaries, yeah, modal verbs, than on comparatives or superlatives, yeah, then you should prepare 2 or 3 times as many questions on the modals, on the modal verbs. So test what you teach, yeah, test what you teach, and the number of questions should actually match those topics, and time spent on those topics accordingly. Yeah. Before writing the questions, decide how many of each grammar type to include. Yeah. So, of course. So what you have been teaching so far, how much time you have spent on those items, yeah, on those topics, and base your questions, the number of questions on those aspects. All right. Many books encourage the testing of grammar by means of multiple choice items. Yeah. I remember when we worked at school in Astana, we would have progress tests every week with 7th graders, and we used only multiple choice tests. Yeah, it was our mistake. We shouldn't excessively use multiple choice tests. Yeah, we should use them, of course. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't use them at all. Yeah, we should, because we mentioned the benefits of multiple choice tests. Yeah, it's objective. You can ask a lot of questions within a very short period of time. However, you shouldn't excessively use them. You should also use different techniques like paraphrase. What else? Put the verb in the correct tense. Yeah. So gap filling, not only choosing. You can even practice close, but close is difficult. Yeah. Close is like overall. No, we'll study close later. Yeah. So use different techniques. Don't use only multiple choice all the time. This is why ENT is criticized. ENT is criticized severely for this purpose. For these purposes, yeah. And it uses only multiple choice tests technique. There is no paraphrasing part. No. There is no putting the word in the correct form. No. There is no writing, and so on. Okay, now let's pay attention. Let's have a look at different techniques. Yeah, this is a common multiple choice technique that you know. Space saver is an alternative form of multiple choice. So when you do your assignment, please don't compare space saver with a multiple choice, because they're both multiple choice items. Okay, they're both multiple choice techniques. So when you compare, don't compare multiple choice with alternative form of multiple choice. I'll use something else. Error identification, yeah, a very old and nice technique. It used to be used in TOEFL, but nowadays they don't use it as far as I know. However, SAT, I think, if I'm using SAT, they use it. So identify sentence errors. How can you do it? Yeah, I've shown you an example. Some words or phrases are underlined in the sentence and they're given numbers, like the is A, doesn't have is B, some is C, and 4 is D. So you should find the mistake here. And what is the mistake here? It's C, yeah? It shouldn't be, Fatima wrote C. Doesn't have any money, yeah? For the game. Or you can do it this way. You can design it in this way. Yeah, usually they do it this way. Yeah. So literacy is an enormous problem. It affects millions of people worldwide, and it is an impediment to social progress. So A, B, C, D, and E, no error, for example. Yeah. And what is the correct answer here? Any ideas? Alina, yeah. And Fatima, they write it's E. Yeah, I think it's E as well. Yeah, no error. There is no mistakes. So you can use an item like this as well, error identification. So you can compare, for example, multiple choice with error identification. Completely different techniques.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Hey, teacher. Sorry. It's not a part of the task, but does it look okay to you that there is just a comma and then it starts with it?
I don't think they check spelling.
No. It's not the spelling. It's that it's an independent cause again. Like literacy is the enormous problem. It affects millions of people worldwide. If it was a question on the SAT, that would be incorrect.
Then it should be like full stop, problem. Literacy is an enormous problem, full stop.
I think that's supposed to be defining relative verbs.
Maybe.
I mean, seriously, this. I mean, now I work too much on the SAT, so this looks incorrect. So it cannot be like that.
Okay, you might be right. If you worked that a lot, yeah. All right, let's continue then. Another technique of error identification. Slash, you use slash here. Girls usually are taking more time for dressing and just write those parts.
Why is it a sexist question?
I don't know, I found it in the book, yeah. I didn't think about it.
What kind of book is that? I'm gonna see the book.
A very old one, yeah, to be honest, a very old one, yeah. So it is take, yeah? So you choose B. So you can do it this way, yeah? Three different layouts of error identification. You can choose any that you wish. Another technique, this is the fourth technique of error identification. This is from FCE, First Certificate Exam. You're given a short passage, and there are some extra words. Sometimes, not always. For example, in the first line, it's correct. So it's a tick. It's not V, it's a tick here. I'm sure you have heard of Marian Taylor, which is correct. So you put a tick. Haven't you? Marian was the young girl kidnapped by aliens. So she is extra, and then you write she. So they usually include pronouns like she, it, sometimes helping verbs as extra words, and students have to identify those extra words and write them. This is another technique. It's more difficult to construct, actually. All right, let's continue with other techniques. Limited response. Yeah, we mentioned that we use limited response with beginner level students because they still cannot speak. They cannot write, they cannot speak mainly. And this is why it's called limited. So they answer only yes, no, or they repeat. For example, is the boy sleeping or running? They say running, yeah, or they say true or false, yeah. The boy is running, false, for example. You can do it individually or you can do it in groups. Now, it's a good idea to start doing it in groups because you will encourage your learners to do it individually later, so they can see how it is done. So they grab the idea how to do it. You can ask just very simple questions like how many books are there on the table, and they can say just 5 or 6, whatever. or it may be a true-false question. There are 5 books on the table, on the desk. Yeah, false. So, pictures can be used. For example, is the lady on the house? Yes. Yeah. Or no. You say. Yeah. Point to the child behind the car, and just point. Yeah. For example.
Maybe the child behind the car gets a point. You got 5 points to Gryffindor, so like a point to the child behind the car.
Or there might be like different tools. A picture with different tools. Axe, hammer, screwdriver, whatever. Yeah, and you can say like point to an axe, and students have to point to an axe. Yeah, but this is vocabulary actually. Now we're talking about grammar. All right. Another example: pictures can be used to test other matters like verb tense. So they will have pictures with time. Yeah. For example, man eating lunch at noon, at 12 o'clock. Yeah, working at 2 o'clock p.m. and driving home at 5:30 p.m. And so the past tense can be evaluated by asking, what did he do before he went back to work? Yeah, and you can say he had lunch, for example. The picture. Now, for example, you can use a picture like this, and you can ask questions like, "What is the lady doing?" She's painting. Yeah, as far as I see, she's painting. And you can even ask more complicated questions, more challenging questions like, "What would happen if she dropped the can of paint?" Yes, she would drop it on her dog, I think, and the dog would be hurt, or would be a different color, yeah, or yeah, whatever. So just use imagination. So you can use more difficult questions with pictures, not only easy ones, depending on the level. Group testing, for example, you can use drawing. Yeah, draw an airplane in the middle of the paper. So students draw it. Now draw a house below the airplane. When testing prepositions, yeah, so middle, below, in the front, in the back, yeah, and so on. Draw a circle around the person on the house. Draw an X on the boy behind the car, yeah, and so on. You can also use flashcards. I use flashcards a lot at school when we practice prepositions. So I would show a flashcard and make a statement, and students would have to tell if it is true or false. For example, the girl is between the boxes. False. For example, she is behind the boxes. Another example, again, you can show flashcards or pictures like this and compare. For example, the boy is as big as the girl. Or look at picture B. Is the boy as big as the girl? And so you can say like no. Yeah. Now look at picture C. The girl is taller than the boy. True. Yeah. In the first example, we should circle the picture. Yeah? So it's a D. Yeah? The boy is as big as the girl. It's D. So you can use pictures a lot. Yeah? Use pictures. Paraphrase, my favorite. It's from FCE. They use paraphrase in the section use of English. Students have to paraphrase the sentence so that the meaning is the same. And they usually have to use a word. One word is given. Sometimes you can skip it. You don't have to give a word that students must use. Like in the first example. In the second example, students must use a certain word, and they should not exceed 5 words. Yeah, 5 is like the maximum that they can use. However, of course, you should teach your students that you should practice before using it in the test. And you must explain to your students that contractions like isn't, doesn't, mustn't, they count as one word, not two. Because sometimes they might think that there are 6 words and they're making a mistake, but actually they are not, because they're using a contraction. And this is why they use 5 words correctly. Simple completion. Simple completion, it's actually like a multiple choice because we still give a choice in this particular example. The option form, because we give an option. The easiest simple completion items like do, yeah, or make multiple choice questions with only 2 options. He made a lot of money last year. Yeah. We always do. I always do my best. Yeah. Or you can have more options. Again, like question words. Who, whose, where, why. This one. The inflection form. So students must put the word in the correct form. We give the word like tall. Students must write the tallest. We give the be, and they must conjugate it, put in the correct form. They were in Colorado last week. So you can use this technique as well when comparing, because they have to put it in the correct form. Yeah. The inflection form is okay. Pre-response, tag questions, or it might be prepositions, or sometimes we just prepositions or phrasal verbs. Yeah, here we have an example of a phrasal verb. Word order. Students must put the word, the sentence in the correct word order. Yeah, in the correct order. B is more advanced version. In upper intermediate and advanced level, yeah. English has a certain order of adjectives. So like it's color, size, origin, and so on. They come in certain order. Now, evaluating grammar tests. What should we evaluate? Yeah. When evaluating, we usually measure only one element, such as, for example, the definite article. Yeah. So we should test on the definite article. We shouldn't penalize students for other mistakes. For example, if students wrote, even if they wrote the last example, like opened, yeah, there is no E. We still can accept it as opened because it's a spelling mistake. It's not a grammar mistake. And actually, they use it correctly. So you should penalize, like subtract totally. You shouldn't give 0. At least give half a point for this. Yeah. Another example. A candidate shouldn't be penalized for missing third person S when the item is testing relative pronouns. So if you're testing pronouns, yeah, don't subtract points for third person S. Yeah. Well, maybe half a point, but you shouldn't give like 0. Yeah, for this. However, if 2 elements are being tested in one sentence, for example, the paraphrase, yeah, then you should specify it that in order to get a full point, you must get 2 answers correctly. Yeah? Or you can divide points, like half a point for each part, or 1 point for each part, and the question weighs 2 points, for example. But you must specify it, and your students must know how many points they're going to get in every exercise, actually. In the instructions section, you should write how many points students can get in this particular exercise. So they can calculate and do easier exercises first, for example, and they can calculate how many points they're going to get. So they'll score better. Or, for example, like in this one, yeah, the paraphrase part, keys might be haven't seen, half a point, and was, half a point. Or they both should be correct, and only in this case, you'll give only one point. But you must specify and decide which one you're going to apply. All right, let's do some activities now. There are 6 sentences with mistakes. We should identify mistakes. The first one, what seems to be a mistake in the first one? In areas? What is the mistake in the first part? Repetition, yeah, repetition. And Saltanat and yeah, exactly. Should and well, yeah? So include should and well in the stem. Good. Second question? What about the second one? Several correct answers, yeah. More than one, exactly. A and B, for example. You can't smoke in here, sir, yeah, or you mustn't smoke here. A and B are possible. More than one correct answer. Also, see, you shouldn't smoke here. Well, shouldn't, yeah, shouldn't is more polite, maybe, let's say so, yeah. But if it's a policeman, you might say like you mustn't, yeah, because it's a prohibition, yeah. Third one. He has lived in this town for only a week, and he already has a few friends, not many friends, your friends. D is irrelevant, exactly, yeah. So, because it's not the same category, yeah, because it's from a different category. So if the correct answer is, for example, pronoun, then destructor should be pronouns, yeah. If the correct answer is connected with, is a determiner, for example, yeah, destructor should be determiners as well, and so on. Good. Question number 4. You can get it from the lady whom he sold it to.
I honestly don't see a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, many people would say which or who, but grammatically, in terms of academic English, it's supposed to be C. That's the only answer possible.
Exactly. In terms of academic English, C is correct. Yeah. However, native speakers, they can also use B, who. Yeah. So this is a form of what is it called? I have forgotten, guys. How we call it? Just a minute.
In grammar books, it's explained as if he gave it to her.
Formality.
So that's supposed to be whom.
Different forms.
It's not she gave it to she. So yeah, many native speakers make many mistakes, not only here, but it doesn't mean we can do it in the same way.
In terms of academic English, of course, C is correct, yeah. But in spoken English, B can be used as well. So it's formality, different levels of formality.
Well, to be honest, in informal language and spoken language, we don't even have to use to be. Listen to native speakers; they lose half of the words. They don't care. Their lexis is like 100 words, and they're okay with that.
Should have, for example, a lot of native speakers think that should have, actually it should have, but they think that it should have, yeah, because they should have. Sometimes they don't realize that it is actually should have. Yeah.
Isn't it shoulda in them? It's like, should have done that. But I think it's correct. They just don't pronounce the h sound, and that's totally okay.
It's correct. Absolutely, it's correct. But they just think that it is should. It's not should have. It's like should of. Yeah?
Well, they're illiterate.
All right. The fifth one. Let's decide what the mistake in the fifth one. There are actually two mistakes in the fifth one. C is also correct. Good. D is inappropriate. Okay. And what about? Actually, it's more like a pronunciation test. Yeah, they sound alike. They are the ones. They are the ones. There. So it's more a pronunciation test rather than a grammar test. Yeah, we should avoid using sound-alike words as distractors, because in vocabulary and grammar tests, you can use them in pronunciation tests. It's okay in listening parts. Yeah, but in grammar parts, yeah, we should avoid them. And the last one, 6. D is inappropriate. Different category. Exactly. Again, different category. Well done. Well done. Well, I think so. These are the keys. These are the references. Arthur Hughes and Madsen. The examples from Madsen. Yeah. Also, he's a sexist. Yeah. And the book was published 40 years ago. Yeah, at the time, people didn't care actually about that. Maybe this is why the example is not appropriate, let's say so. All right, homework assignment. You should construct again 2 grammar tests, 10 items in each. You must use 2 different techniques, but the same topics. So you can use even different verbs, for example, yeah, or different words, but the topic should be the same. You can use different verbs or words or phrases so that students don't notice that you are testing a certain topic. Let's say so. Then you should give the test to the same group of students. If you can give it to different group of students, but with similar ability, which is actually very difficult. Yeah, this is why you can give it to the same group. And the fourth one, you have to compare the performance, and compare how they do. And again, make a very small analysis on why you think they perform better in a certain technique. Well, I think this is it. Thank you for joining. I'll upload homework in Google Classroom. Don't worry. Details.